Hello all, and thanks for joining today's session. My name is Amit Sharma, and today I'm going to show you how to use left outer join. People who come from different BI to BI reporting product, or people who are new to Cognos framework manager, they find often it's very difficult to understand how joinings are being applied, how to use joins. Typically, if you see most of the BI reporting tool, you double click on join type, you have an option over here to change the join type. Unlike in Cognos, where we cannot explicitly change the join type. So how to specify left outer join? This is what I'm going to show you today. So for example, I use one model over here called SH model. You see over here, my customer dimension are further normalized to country, and the joining, the cardinality is one to many. So this is how you read it. In one country there are many customers. I'm going to show you a simple example where you will understand how join type influence your the output, the query output. Okay. So in order to show you this example, I've taken two tables. One of my table is country and another of my table store. So it is assume in a country I have a primary key, country is a primary key, and correspondingly I have got a store which has got a country ID is a foreign key. So pretty much the relationship between store, between country and store is a primary key and foreign key. Okay. And you look at my sample data, I store some sample data to make it easy to understand. There are 4 records in my country and there are 6 records in my store. The one thing is important over here to pay attention. I have some countries where there are no stores. So country to store is one to many cardinality. In one country there are many stores. However, in this example, I've taken two countries called USA and China, which has got no country, no store. So if I apply a simple typical equal join, I would lose two countries. For example, my business query is I need to find out the list of the country and their corresponding stores. List of countries and their stores. So if I apply equal join based on country ID, country dot country ID, I would lose. You see country ID is a primary key. Store country dot country ID equals to store dot country ID. So if I use this join, I would lose some other country where there are no stores. So by applying equal join, the only information I can capture is list of the country and their store. It will display list of all those countries where the stores are there. The information would be excluded in this example. If I apply equal join, the country USA and China will not be visible in my list, as these two countries has no corresponding store, have no stores, right? So therefore, in order to see all the countries whether they have a store or not, I need to apply left outer join corresponding to country. Let's do this live to make it easy to understand. What I do, I create a new framework manager and call this join test. And when you do it live, it is easy to understand. So I have already created a relation database connection. I'm using SH schema where I create these two new table, and I pretty much select SH is my schema, and the two table which I just not shown you, country and store, are exist under SH schema. So I click next, and there are three options. The first option says how does your system identify the relationship, based on primary foreign key or based on common column with the same name. Your system look at two columns with the same name, regardless there are primary key and foreign key, or system reads, understand the column which are tagged as index as primary key. So I would use pretty much the first option, because in my table definition I clearly specify my country ID is my primary key, and correspondingly country ID is a foreign key in a store table. So I go next and import my metadata. So in order to make it simple, I keep only two tables. Let's look at the graphical view of it. So by default, your Cognos Framework Manager brings the default cardinality exists in your online database. So from country to customer, country to store, you see in one country there are one or many stores. In one country there are one or many stores. You can double click on this join and read this way. Each country has one or only one country. Sorry, each store has one and only one country. So one store belongs to one country, but in one country there are many stores. Let's make it simple. I'm going to create a list of the country and the store. Right click and I test it. Test, and I see the list of country and the store. The information which is missing in this query, which you can easily understand, I don't have information of China and USA. These two countries are excluded in this query. The reason is quite obvious. In these two countries there are no stores. And you can also look at the query which is being generated by your Cognos. You see on the native query, the kind of join is applied as an equal join. You want to go further to this, you can also copy this query and process this query directly under your online database, which make your understanding even easy. If you're so comfortable writing a SQL query, that may be a favorite approach for you. So I copy and paste the same query and I see the list of country and the store. But two countries, USA and China, are not visible as there is no corresponding store in it. So what do you do in case you want to specify, you want a list of all the country and their corresponding stores? Now typically you don't have any method in Cognos where Framework Manager where you can specify left outer join or right outer join. This is controlled through using a cardinality. So the golden rule is, so the rule says in order to create a left outer join, the cardinality should be 0 to 1, 0 to n. So I would say list of all the country, list of all the stores, whether they belong to any country or not, right? Or other way around, I need a list of all the countries, whether it has any store or not, right? So I would change the cardinality type as 0 to 1 in order to fetch all the data. So cardinality double click and change 0 to 1. So list of all the stores, whether they belong to any country or not, or other way around, list of all the country which does have any store or not. So I change the cardinality now and I reprocess the same query, list of country and the respective store. Test. And here you find pretty much the output is different. You can compare it. When the previous output was did not capture these two countries. You see over here the China and USA does not have any store, still we are able to see. Why? Because the kind of join is being processed in the current system is left outer join. You can see the exact query which is rendered by your Cognos. So this is your query output and this is pretty much your query. You see them together to get your complete understanding about how Cognos understand. Copy this query and paste over here, right? And you see the point which should draw your attention is join type, and you see my join type is left outer join, right? Now I go back and change my cardinality 0 to 1 to it is 0 to n. I make it 0 to 1 or 1 to 1 in both the cases, and I reprocess the same query, list of country and the store, right click and test. At this time my USA and China are missing because these two countries does not have any store information. And the kind of query process, I can take a capture this output and corresponding query. When we look them together, it is easy for us to understand how Cognos understand the join type. Now let's finally look at the query. This is the query which Cognos Framework Manager rendered it on the fly. I just copy this and put into my paintbrush, so comparison become easy. I don't have enough space. I need to expand this a little extra. So I change the font size a little lower so that I can accommodate. You see the kind of join which we used just now is the echo join. This is echo join, and the joining is country ID. Country joined with store using country ID. Here it was left outer join, here it is echo join. And the output difference, when you use left outer join, you can still see US and China, whereas when you use a echo join, naturally you lose this information, US and China. So the moral of the story, in order to understand how joins are being applied, you pay attention to these two rows. So wherever it is pointing to 0 to n, 1 to 1 and 0 to n, it is considered to be a left outer join. Wherever it is pointing to 1 to 1 and 1 to n, or 1 to 1, this is interpreted as a inner join. Cognos does not have any explicit method through which you can specify join type as left outer, right outer, full outer. Extension to this query, if I make this model, if I make 0 to n both side, this is considered to be a full outer join. And some of your database do not support full outer join. So you see I change the cardinality to 0 to n and 0 to n. And when I process, I get this message stating that the underlying database does not support a table full outer join is being constructed dynamically, and your database does not support this. So this is how you can specify join criteria in Cognos, as there is no explicit way through which you define join. So that's it from my end. Thanks for watching our video tutorial collection. In order to get more information, kindly log into our site www.bisptrainings.com.